POTUS wants complete space dominance. To that end, the president is creating a new branch, Space Force, which Mark will run.
What?
This is a great adventure we are embarking on today. There will be setbacks, but greatness was never won without sacrifice.
Oh, he is blowing it just like you thought. Yeah, it is a complete show. Oh, my dry cleaner. Yeah, they lost my dress whites.
No, please let that not be an analysis of this show.
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and more importantly, that's Space Force coming to Netflix. Is that right, Bryce?
That's right. Coming May 29th from Greg Daniels and Steve Carell, both co-creators, and from The Office, of
This
course.
shouldn't matter, but was the project announced before the actual Space Force, or
No.
like is the one
No,
a
it was
rebuttal
later.
to the other?
It was after.
No, yes. This project was created in response to the announcement of Space Force.
Oh man, that makes me have really complicated feelings because it's such a funny, over-the-top, insane idea. I wish it was made completely independent because now I'm afraid, is everything going to be a commentary? Is it going to be an indictment of, because guess what? Sooner or later, a Democrat's going to inherit the actual Space Force. That is the military branch, and then people's children are going to serve in the actual Space Force. And so I wonder how.
But I think
how it'll age.
There's bipartisan space to criticize the Defense Department.
There is, but
will they stick to it? Yeah.
Will they explore all of that space, or will they only stick to one side of the space? The trailer gave me hope for that part of it. Mm-hmm. It actually made me. I didn't see too many examples of pot shots, right? So that gave me a little hope. The trailer, on the other hand, made me worried that it'll be boring.
Ooh.
I don't know about that. So here's the thing. Office Space,
Not
never
space.
Correct. Other Space. Office Space never mentioned TGI Fridays by name, but made fun of that kind of corporate culture, that kind of manufactured fun, over the top, fake smile in a restaurant form. Maybe they're able to do the same thing with this. I don't know.
Yeah, Greg. On paper, this should be great. Greg Daniels has my faith from what he's done in the past. Steve Carell has my faith from what he's done in the past. But this trailer, I think they need a different trailer because the Kokomo things made me laugh.
I was about to say, they did hit a home run mocking Kokomo. That's been my go-to punching
stuck
bag
in
for
my
a long
head
time.
all day long.
Yeah.
You guys like the Kokomo thing? I felt that was so long.
You didn't live through the actual Kokomo.
Well, and
if you
I
lived
did.
through the actual Kokomo, there's no amount of time that it's not a fun punching bag. Forever and ever and ever and ever.
By the way, and maybe this informs part of my enjoyment of this. Did you know there is no island named Kokomo? They invented it for the song.
I believe that if they were smart, they would also trademark it.
Well, hold on, because my story's not done.
Oh, no!
When the Beach Boys wrote the song, they made a fictional island. But guess who thought like you did, Brian Brushwood? And
Tom Cruise! Tom Cruise!
Sandals.
Oh, my
my
God!
God!
Brilliant! Which brings us back to Steve Carell.
Exactly. Yes, in the office. Oh my God. Wow. You know what, Tom? I would say, I always say that Netflix has a 50-50 rate on making good trailers. And we'll talk about it a little more, but I just watched the other new Greg Daniels show this weekend. And I Upload. And I didn't think I would like it because I don't like the trailer, because you could tell Amazon spent a lot of money to use a big licensed song. And I think it's way better than the trailer lets on to. So I would say.
I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that's the case with Space Force.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into our primary target. It's time once again to check in on how much is cable dying. Moffett-Nathanson estimates traditional pay TV lost 1.8 million subscribers in Q1. We get these numbers every 3 months as the last of all the cable companies report their subscription levels and all of that. So 1.8 million down, 7.6% on the year, the biggest drop yet. 1 million of that was from satellite. So part of this is the folks who had held on to satellite for a little longer for whatever reason. And if you remember in the early days of cord cutting, it was the cable companies, the traditional cable companies losing, and satellite was still gaining. So that's catching up. Plus, we have 1 month of people being shut inside and losing jobs, et cetera. That's part of it. Pay TV now has 63% of all households in the United States. That's 79 million. And if you want to compare to years, that's 1995 levels of penetration. Streaming cable replacements like YouTube TV, the industry term for them is VMVPD, for virtual multi-channel video something.
I thought we were settled on over-the-top networks, OTTs, but I guess that would include stuff
Moffat
outside
Nathanson's
of that.
using VMVPD.
Okay,
So because
right.
it's like, well, there's the multi-channel providers, traditional, and then there's the virtual ones like Hulu plus live TV.
Got it.
Anyway, that industry fell 341,000. Hulu added 100,000 to reach 3.2 million. YouTube TV added 300,000 to reach 2.3 million. So Hulu's still the leader now. YouTube TV number 2, but everybody else in this space lost. Sling TV, AT&T TV now, whatever they're called. 30 million households have cut the cord or never adopted it since 2010. 9.6 million of those opted for a virtual over-the-top provider. So that's, if you back of the envelope math, 20 million who just were like, you know what, I don't need multiple channels anymore. This is a turn against multi-channel. It's not just a turn against monopoly cable. When you finally have the choice, it's not like, oh, you know what, I might lose a few channels, but I'll save some money. I'm going to Hulu Live. It's, I don't need that. People don't want a scheduled airing, according to Moffat Nathanson. They're like, I just want to watch what I want, when I want, where I want. So I'm going to just get that from Netflix or Amazon Prime or these many other offerings, Disney Plus, etc. News is the other thing you lose when you go from multi-channel. People are getting that online. They're getting it on Facebook. They're getting it from Twitter. And if they want video news, they can get it from loads of sources like BBC, New York Times, Bloomberg, and the traditional providers all have free streaming news apps out there, CBS, ABC, etc. Sports would be the one thing that really held people onto multi-channel, and a lack of sports has definitely accelerated cord cutting. Suddenly it's like, well, what am I paying for cable to watch things on ESPN when there's nothing on ESPN? Although now they're starting to get a few things like Korean baseball, et cetera. But this may be training some folks to not only live without all the sports, Brian, but just to live without multi-channel. They canceled it for the pandemic and maybe they never go back.
I think there's two biggest sides of this, and let me pitch this to you. We've talked in the past about how all of cable is pretty much underwritten by sports, and whether you watch sports or not, that was the biggest part of your cable bill that was paid to outside parties, was the sports part. And now there is no sports, so it makes sense that maybe whatever that portion of the sports people are finally giving up. But let me pitch this to you. I think the decision to give up cable was already made in the minds of millions and millions of people, much like the decision to give up smoking or some other bad habit that they know they need to, quote unquote, get around to. Over the last few months, Tom, there's a lot of stuff that I've been meaning to get around to that I finally did. And I think this is straight up, a rubber band snapping. I think that tension was there. I think the decision was made, and this was just the right time to be like, oh, yeah. No, now's the time for me to evaluate how much am I spending on all my media. Let me just cut out the biggest, most obvious one that I'm using the least, and then hold on to Netflix and then figure out where I want to go from there.
Yeah, Moffat Nathanson said something similar in their report about, these sorts of events accelerating trends, not creating them. And that's essentially what you're saying there. And I think that's dead on. You're right. People had been meaning to get around to eating out less and cooking for themselves. Right. Well, guess what? They're doing a lot of cooking for themselves.
You finally have the time.
Yeah. And I think this is an example of that, which is, like you say, like, well, I've been meaning to cut cable. Why not now? Let's see what's on all this stuff, because all the stuff I was keeping cable for isn't necessarily important, especially, at least if it was sports. Now, that said, sports is going to come back and people are going to want to watch sports. So where will those sports people go when that happens? Will they go to the virtual OTT providers? Will they go back to cable and turn it back on again? Will they go to the bar like you're always recommending? Like just get out of your house and go hang out when the big game is on. I wonder what's going to happen in the short term, but I'm more curious what's going to happen in the long term, as I don't think all of these people will go back to cable. Suddenly those sports contracts aren't as valuable, and the leagues realize that they've got a direct line to people who love their sport and a relationship that they've built for years. And maybe when these agreements with the big networks go away, they rejigger them. I don't think you say like you can only get NBA from the NBA app, but I think you make it so that you can get almost all the NBA from the NBA app. And it's a special event that gets pushed out to Disney Plus or CBS All Access, or, like CBS All Access already has football in it. Like Peacock's going to want to have sports in it too. So there's opportunities to really change how sports gets delivered here.
Here's what I suspect. In an alternate universe where nobody had a surviving entangling contract, everybody follows the true pioneers of this, the WWE. Everybody makes their own network. There's an NBA app, an NFL app, an NHL app, a baseball, what's baseball? Major League Baseball.
MLB.TV.
Yep. But as we know, those entangling contracts stick around for a very long time. And in fact, that's part of the reason people jockeyed so hard for them in the previous era. So we have to wait for the echoes of that to go away. I don't know. And I don't know enough about these specific contracts to speculate, but I know that from the money-making side, everybody who can put everything behind an app will. Everybody who can't will mushmouth, middle road it until they can put everything behind an app.
I mean, the major sports, NHL, MLB, NBA, NFL here in the United States, they all have strong apps. NHL recently, like 2-3 years ago, we had Buzz Eck on to talk about the fact that the NHL had switched over to using BAMTech for their back end, specifically for that. So they're set. It's all about the agreements. It's all about who is allowed to stream what, where. And like you say, we're not privy to all of those arrangements and how long they go. But there's going to be some pressure to change things. And I want to repeat what I said about, you see CBS All Access with sports, you see Peacock with sports. I wouldn't be shocked to see Disney maybe not put sports in Disney Plus, but really talk about that bundle of ESPN Plus, Hulu and Disney Plus as more of a unified thing, and ESPN Plus start to be more of a way to pay to stream sports directly rather than having to get cable. I think that's something Disney's going to have to do. They've been ahead of the game on streaming with Disney Plus for entertainment. They're behind the game on streaming for sports, but they don't have to stay behind. They could leap in front of that, and this could be the leverage they need to renegotiate that kind of stuff.
Also, let me throw this to you. There's a temptation to perceive the nature of this story as 1970s cable went on the rise, stayed on the rise. Now is cable's fall. But divorce cable as an institution, and instead think of people. What is this the story of? Since the 1970s, people are willing to spend increasing amounts of money to maximize their choices and feel the most connected. Nowadays, if I told you, here's $150 per month, I want you to feel the most connected, have the most choices, how would you spend it? And almost certainly that would not involve cable. You would instead subscribe to all these individual choices. So there's a temptation to believe that anything is changing. Nothing is changing. The only thing that is changing is the efficiency of the conduit by which we receive stuff.
Right. That there is change, but it's that, right? Yeah. It's not like people suddenly became different and didn't like the same things. One change that's going to mess up anybody's projections is we don't know what's going to happen to the economy. We just shut down the world for a couple of months, and we're going to try to restart. As Justin Robert Young
put it, we put a bullet in the head of a bull market on purpose by choice.
Yeah. And anybody who hasn't driven their car for a while lately and went out to start it and found a dead battery knows, like, your car may start just fine. You may have to jump start it. You may have to take it to the shop. You just don't know until you go out and try to restart the car. So we may be fine and we may be back on track. We may be dealing with an entirely different economic landscape, which could shake up all these predictions. But that said, I think you're right. I think what this shows is people are like, I don't need multi-channels to get what I want anymore. And sports was one of the things that kept a lot of people glued, and people are learning to live without it right now. May not be so dire to go back to it, especially when they can subscribe to ESPN Plus, when they can get out of town games directly from the leagues. And you're probably going to see more of that behavior putting pressure on stuff.
Yep, agreed.
Well, we don't want to put too much pressure on you, but back our Patreon.
Yeah, no, we don't want to put a lot of pressure, but seriously, we're going to die unless you go right now to patreon.com/Cordkillers. I don't want to make a big thing about it. We just visited the doctor and he said, I'm sorry, you have independentitis. It's something where you're loud, live, and independent, and the only way for you to survive is an infusion of Patreon stat. They took us over to the ER and we went to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Thankfully, we had over 1,000 donors and we would like you to be among them.
Yeah. So give till it helps you feel like you've helped us.
Right.
Patreon.com.
Also, we're literally dying. And if you don't give us money, we're never doing the show again.
I don't think he knows
we're
what the word
gonna
literally
die.
means. It's okay. But no, seriously.
No pressure.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers. No pressure. Let's talk about how to watch. All right, this is kind of an ongoing story for the old Cordkillers here. We like movies. We like watching movies at home. We also like watching movies in the theater sometime. And we're very curious what our options will be for those going forward. We talked a lot about the public spat between Universal, NBC Universal, and AMC theaters. And now theaters are reopening in some U.S. cities. Spain, tentatively going to reopen May 25th.
I love that city.
No, theaters are reopening in some U.S. cities. Period.
Okay.
Spain, new category. Spain tentatively opening its theaters May 25th. Germany's Saxony and Schleswig-Holstein May 18th. Rhine-Westphalia May 30th. The Netherlands looking at June 1st with a 30-person limit per screening. The UK says no earlier than July 4th. Nice troll, UK. Americans make movies. Reopen your theaters on July 4th.
No earlier. After independence.
Yeah. And obviously different rules in different countries, but generally they're talking about minimum distance between patrons, so you won't be sitting right next to anybody. Hence like in the Netherlands, the 30-person limit. Planned entries and exits. Korea, which has already had its theaters open for quite a while now, is going at one better with contactless theater experiences. CJ, CGV, and Lotte Cinemas nicknamed them Untact. You order your food through an app or a kiosk. It's delivered with LED-controlled pickup boxes, so you never talk to a person. You buy your ticket through an app. You scan it with a robot. If it's a restricted film, like an R-rated type film, you scan an ID. And apparently, Woody Allen's romantic comedy Rainy Day in New York took over the top box office in Korea from Trolls World Tour. The whole spat about AMC and Universal was about Trolls World Tour going digital. In Korea, they're showing it was the #1 movie in the theaters last week. And granted, this is like 5% of the normal theater attendance in Korea, but still. And then one of the most interesting, and this one's local to Brian, and actually to me, because there's one here in LA too, Alamo Drafthouse launching Alamo On Demand. May 9th, they premiered the Biosphere 2 documentary and streamed a Q&A with some of the residents from Biosphere 2. May 22nd, there's a Kate Nash documentary. There'll be a Q&A with Kate Nash. You watch through the web. They have Android and iOS apps coming soon. But they took that idea that we talked about, Brian, and said, well, if we're not going to have people coming into the theaters right now, let's bring our experience to them.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Bryce signed up for this, right? You already experienced some stuff.
Yeah, I bought a movie over the service over the weekend. Yeah, so it's all through the web right now. They're saying there's apps coming. I could AirPlay it to my phone, to my TV. The resolution and the bandwidth was all fine. It was very quick to set up an account and add a card and all. I will say it was a few days later when I found that the movie that I bought was like $1 cheaper on Amazon.
Did that sting or?
It was only like $10 anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of interesting thing is that they kind of have a lot of different price points based on how popular or how what the budget of the movie is. So you have like Parasite versus like the movie I watched, which was like a $5 rental or just $10 to own. So even then, it was really seamless, and the curation is nice. They have, they make a point of saying like, if there's a movie on here, it means one of our editorial staff thinks that you should watch this movie. Which is a very like comforting thing to be like, because I don't know any of the rest of these movies. I saw Parasite and I knew that, but the Biosphere movie, this Kate Nash thing, I didn't know any of them, and I could go in and see, okay, this is a comedy, I will watch this. It was all right.
S. Kramer 00 in our Twitch chat says the Egyptian Theater in LA is doing the same thing with Q&As and indie films and all that sort of thing. So it seems like some of the smaller chains and independent theaters realizing that, nobody's going to come bail them out. There's no rumor that Amazon wants to buy them like there is for AMC theaters. So they've got to figure some other way to do this.
Two things. Number one, I did not know about this Biosphere 2 movie. I'm so excited about that because I actually did visit Biosphere 2.
It's a documentary, yeah.
The summer after I graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
We just happened to be driving by and we drove like 30 miles out of our way. But separately, it was an interesting thing on the shoot we did this weekend because our producer, John, was genuinely confused why anybody would spend any money for a movie. And I explained, it's a new movie. You can't get it anywhere else. And he was like, oh, yeah, no, I guess you would in that case. So in that regard, let me ask you, Bryce.
Sure.
How much of what we value, and I mean like on an internal feeling level, how much of what we love about going to the movies lived in that virtualized version of it that you experienced?
I certainly liked the idea of like, here is a new movie, here is a recent thing that maybe people don't know about yet.
So the newness definitely landed.
I mean,
this is not out in Netflix yet.
Right. I mean, once I saw the news article, that got me to the site, and I if it wasn't that first time I went to it, then I went back to it not long after to go and make that transaction. So I think having some of the newness, having the price be good. I mean, that's even cheaper than the high end movie VODs that have been doing, and then just the convenience of doing it at home, right? I can pause and I can scut back if I didn't hear something, or I can adjust the lighting. I don't have to deal with other people.
Closed captioning?
No closed captioning, and I don't know if that's because of AirPlay or because it's just a new movie. But I could not get subtitles, which was a little frustrating. But I tend to not like subtitles for comedies anyway, so I could make it through that. But overall, I mean, even if it was $20 for a movie, I think I would prefer that experience. Wow. Than even maybe $30, depending on what the rights are. And this was a low budget movie that I bought for $10. I'm not going to be able to buy Trolls for $10.
That's key, right? You own it now.
I own it.
So you can rewatch it as many times as you want.
Did you ever find out like it's owned on their servers, or is there any, like, if the Alamo went out of business tomorrow, would you still own it?
It's tied to my Alamo account. There was not a download option available.
Okay.
They might have one when they make these mobile apps, but if I went to my computer, I don't think I could download a file.
Yeah, I'm doubting that Movies Anywhere is going to allow the Alamo Drafthouse in anytime soon.
Do you think? I don't know. I mean, Movies Anywhere is the big studios, but I would hope.
But it does enhance their value to make a bigger tent.
Yeah.
Well, but also the studios aren't going to want to incur the wrath of AMC by allowing these competitors in possibly. It may just not be worth their money to re-engineer Movies Anywhere to admit these folks. I don't know. I may be wrong about both those things, but it would be cool if there was an indie version of Movies Anywhere. That the Egyptian Theater and Alamo Drafthouse and others that are doing this kind of banded together to make it so that, hey, if we ever go out of business, you still own the movie and you'll be able to watch it at any of the members. Because that's the big thing about Movies Anywhere. As much as the Ultraviolet people complained, if your Ultraviolet purchases were also connected to Movies Anywhere, they stayed in Movies Anywhere. Because you bought them through Ultraviolet. So, that did save a lot of movies for people in services that they wouldn't have been saved for otherwise.
Hey, I got a question. One of the things that stuck out to me out of all these stories is it makes sense to open up theaters partially and let people spread out or whatever. I was a bit transfixed by the arbitrary nature of the number 30 people, because it seems to me like there are big theaters and small theaters. It seems like it should be 20% of capacity or what have you.
There were several large Dutch theaters saying the exact same thing. Brian. Like, hey man, we got a lot of room here. Like, why 30? I'm gonna, if I put myself in the head of the person justifying the 30-person limit, it's to say, it doesn't matter how big your space is. The more people you allow to go to a destination, the higher chance that they will, break the rules, run into each other, and transmit things, because they're touching the door on the way in, they're touching the rails, etc. And maybe that just, there's a calculation you make, because none of this is about 100% prevention of transmission of a disease. Yeah. This is all about how do we lower it to an acceptable risk. And somebody decided that 30 people walking through the doors is an acceptable risk, no matter where they sit once they get inside.
Yeah, because it's the same door. Or it's one door for.
I mean, it might be a set of like 5 or 6 doors, depending.
And also it's worth noting that, these are bureaucrats, and no bureaucrat ever got fired over an overabundance of caution,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, although there's the other side of it is that bureaucrats have gotten fired for putting in rules that ended up destroying something. So if they destroyed the Dutch theaters, but I don't think 30 is going to destroy them any more than 50 would have.
Well, it's, we're worth noting, like, if I'm in the poker match of being one of these, bureaucrats, I would think to myself, I can go up from 30. I don't know if I can go up from 100.
Sure.
No, that's probably part of it too. Is like, let's start with 30. Let's see how it goes, because then we can go up. It's a lot. You can go down.
You can constantly be the guy hogging the headline saying, "Guess who's awesome and is allowing even more people to go to the movies." Me.
There's that too. Yeah. But I'm still upset at the UK for July 4th. Come on. You could have said July 1st. What's up with that? Yeah. All right. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under Surveillance.
Fox unveiled its 2020 fall schedule. Yep. Yeah. The old practice of an autumn schedule is still alive, even in this time of pandemic. Shows will start launching in late September. The schedule is now dominated by scripted and reality series already in the can, plus animated series, so Bob's Burgers, The Simpsons, etc. Filthy Rich and Next both held over from this season. New installments of MasterChef Junior and Cosmos, which was going to be counter programming for the Olympics, but now that there's no Olympics, they held it over until fall. LA's Finest is another one on there. I'll talk about that in a sec. The Masked Singer is on the schedule, though it has not yet been shot. So that's an interesting one. Are they going to do The Masked Singer from home like The Voice or American Idol? And the NFL is on the schedule before we're really certain how sports are going to return, but they're guessing that they'll figure it out by then. LA's Finest, as I mentioned, is interesting because it already aired on Spectrum Cable's Originals channel. Now, that's a lower amount of exposure, but it was supposed to be brought on as a summer series, and Fox held it off. In fact, a few summer series were held off for the autumn to fill out the schedule, and they've come up with other programming to fill the summer schedule. So interesting to see Fox just kind of stay on target and say, you know what, we're just going to take what we have, what we know we can work with, move it into the fall, and then we'll innovate over the summer.
I'm going to assume Cosmos was already banked, and
yes,
they're just
it was already shot.
Yeah,
it was in the can too.
That does seem like one that you could, adjust the slider bar of how much on-screen time versus voiceover you want as you tell those stories, because Cosmos had a fair bit of animation and computer, effects and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Also, Tom Cruise is talking with SpaceX and NASA about shooting the first narrative feature film in space. Scenes would be shot on the International Space Station, according to a tweet from NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. So this is not a rumor. This is, yes, we're planning on doing this.
I was about to say, it's interesting phrasing to say in talks about, because when I read that tweet, it sounded like, a fait accompli,
Well, I wrote it that way, Brian, because Tom Cruise is talking with SpaceX and NASA. He has not scheduled the shoot.
Okay.
So that was my thinking in my personal writing of this as Tom Cruise is talking with them, because that's the stage they're in. They're like, all right, let's shoot a film. And NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine is like, hell yeah, let's shoot the film on the ISS. What's the film? We don't know. Is it greenlit? We don't, none of that, but they're in that stage of like, how do we make this happen?
Man, I'm so curious because I immediately went to like, what is the role of the director? Is this entirely just Tom Cruise monologuing with himself? Is he the one that's going to set aperture settings and exposure levels and all that stuff?
I'm going to guess that this is a scene in a movie, right? So it's not going to be an entire movie. What is that scene? Would it be a scene where he lands on the International Space Station and breaks in and doesn't say any dialogue and then breaks back out? Like, or like you say, does he talk to himself? Like, why is he there? Is it a one day shoot of multiple scenes that are kind of, intersected throughout a movie where there's a character up in the space station and he's talking to them on the ground. So all you shoot is him talking. I don't know. And like you say, who's the cameraman? Who sets the lighting? Who does all that stuff?
Well, in that regard, we've gotten a little bit of a taste of that. There's been a few segments as we continue to do Modern Rogue. Jason is sheltering in place. And so we're trying to do things where it's like, we'll Skype in and watch him shoot and give feedback where it's like, can you make sure you get this covered? Hey, frame your shot so there's about this much or whatever. I gotta be honest, I feel like an idiot because I walked right past the possibility that this was only part of a bigger movie. I just assumed it would be, some crazy Gravity style 90-minute one-act play, involving him in the cupola.
It might be, right? That might be the stunt, is that they do the whole thing up there too. I have no idea.
Yeah. I did entertain the fantasy of, if I was spending enough money to put Tom Cruise up there and I was the director, I might develop a camera that I could remotely watch and remotely adjust cinematography on. So to give more control, but who knows? This is all.
I mean, NASA has a lot of experience shooting video on the ISS, as does the Russian Space Agency. They do
and film.
They do so much video up there. So it's not like they're inexperienced in like, well, we found out this is what it looks like with this lighting setup. I mean, they can show them that stuff. But yeah, I think this is fascinating to me too. Also, if you're Tom Cruise, you could probably afford to buy one of these like vanity ticket things to get yourself up into space. But how much cooler is it for you to be like, I'm going to actually get paid to go to space?
Yes. And
also, I'm not an astronaut or a scientist.
Also, compared to the total budget, and it's like so much of a big blockbuster is marketing anyway. I assume some accountant is able to do the voodoo to say, well, that's $50 million less we have to spend based on the amount of publicity this is getting. Just like it might be something like that.
I mean, I'm assuming we're also both assuming it's Tom Cruise that goes there. He may just be coordinating this. He may be producing it and send someone else.
Tom, I'm so impressed you said that with a straight face. Come on.
We have to throw that out there. But
I mean, also, to be honest, if it's Tom Cruise's decision, he'll be hanging on the outside of the International Space Station.
He's doing a spacewalk, right? Absolutely. And his tether gets broke. I also wonder if he would take a pay cut for, like, would he say like, look, I'm Tom Cruise. I will adjust my rate to account for the amazing opportunity and cost of putting me on the ISS.
If I am Tom Cruise's executive assistant or agent, I absolutely insist he plays chicken, because this cements his position as Hollywood god. If he gets paid a lot for this and does because he performs well under pressure, like how many actors can you point to that have a track record of performing under pressure for as long as Tom Cruise has?
Yeah. Also, E. Clay Thomason points out we hadn't even got to yet. The insurance is going to be astronomical,
so to speak.
Yeah. All right. The reunions keep on coming. On John Krasinski's Some Good News, which we told you about previously on Cordkillers, his YouTube show where he tries to just tell heartwarming stories of things that are happening right now. A Maryland couple recreated the proposal scene from The Office. Krasinski got a hold of that video, brought them on the show, and then brought in Jenna Fisher, who played Pam from The Office, to play the maid of honor. Then everyone from The Office cast joined in for a dance after the marriage that happened on the show to Forever by Chris Brown. And I'm sure not every single person who's ever been on The Office was there, but they got a lot of them to show up and just blew this couple's mind, because obviously they're big Office fans since they recreated this. And Krasinski just kind of slowly rolled this out until there was like a huge office reunion, and they weren't live. They'd all obviously pre-taped the dance and sent it in, but it was still pretty cool. The cast of Community is going to do a real reunion, live streaming a table read of season 5 episode Cooperative Polygraphy on YouTube May 18th at 5 p.m. Eastern. That live stream will raise money for Jose Andres World Central Kitchen and Frontline Foods. So we've got an office reunion. We've had a Parks and Rec reunion. We've got a Community reunion. HBO Max, you sure you want to hold off on that Friends reunion special? Well, yes, apparently they do. Warner Media Entertainment and direct-to-consumer chairman Bob Greenblatt told the NAB Executive Leadership Summit that the Friends reunion will hopefully be completed by the end of the summer.
Good for everyone. I don't know how much milk there's left in this cow.
It's a skinny cow. Well, because when Parks and Rec did it, I got really excited. When John Krasinski did this, I said, I'll have to watch that later today. And I did. When Community did this, I said, I bet that will be fun. Maybe I'll watch it. By the time the HBO Max Friends reunion rolls around, I won't be watching it. A bigger Friends fans than me will, I'm sure. But yeah.
And it's interesting because that's in no way an indictment of the property or of the talented actors behind it or of how well it's aged. It's just it's reunion fatigue. I think we're all experiencing it.
And the Friends one,
nostalgia fatigue.
The Friends one, ostensibly, and maybe it's changed because of COVID, but that was going to be a fully produced and filmed show. That wasn't going to be a Zoom thing.
That is why it's being held off. They're saying hopefully they'll get it done by the end of the summer when they're allowed to go back and have it on the Friends set. Like, that is the idea. That's what they're holding out for. They don't want to do a Zoom reunion. They want to do a full one. Whereas I think they should have jumped on this bandwagon and did a Zoom call where they talked about the upcoming reunion. But I can see why somebody would, say like, no, it takes the wind out of the sails. We want the reunion to be the reunion, the one time. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're smarter to hold off. And by the time they get this done at the end of June, there won't be so much fatigue.
I can't argue with the wisdom of it's a case where the trailer could get more momentum than the actual thing. If they had done just a short 10-minute Zoom call thing.
All right. A few other notes. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer says work continues on National Treasure 3, the movie, but has now announced a National Treasure TV series coming to Disney Plus, likely before the National Treasure 3 movie gets produced. And Nicolas Cage and the whole cast is going to be in the TV series as well. All 7 seasons of Scandal will move from Netflix to Hulu later this month. So kind of a coup for Hulu. Disney Plus ordered an 8-episode series based on the graphic novels of Just Beyond by R.L. Stine, so kind of an anthology horror series. And Robert Rodriguez has been confirmed as the person who directed season 2 of The Mandalorian. That season is wrapped and in the can, scheduled for release in the autumn, but they had not confirmed that Rodriguez was a director, and now they have.
Do you think they kept that secret for, Robert Rodriguez is one of those really interesting brand names where he certainly is capable of exceptional, wonderful, good work. And he's known as an innovator, an entrepreneur, an outsider who jumped up and punched the face of God, built a brand for Austin and so on. But also has some duds in his arsenal. Do we think that they kept that secret for fear of sparking the debate about is this going to be more like blank or blank?
No. I never buy they kept it secret because generally, in my experience, these things they kept it secret because they had decided timing was important on the announcement to get the most pop out of it. Why they announced it May 11th, I don't know. Maybe that was just on the map.
May
already.
the 11th be with you, Tom.
Yeah, you'd think it would have. Well, no, I mean, it's May the 11th today. They announced it May the 4th, so that's obviously why. But why hold it till May 4th? I don't know, because they wanted to make a bunch of Mandalorian announcements, I guess.
I'm going to guess it as an announcement goes, it's just mushy middle enough that they decided to hold on to it and make it part of a group, bundle.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this will be a nice little extra for the Robert Rodriguez fans, because I think they see it as a positive of people going like, ooh, Robert Rodriguez. Everybody they announce is going to have some people that don't like them.
Sure, but I guess in terms of that PR heat, it's not the same as a Favreau announcement or a Taika Waititi announcement.
That's true. It's not. It's no disrespect to Robert Rodriguez, but there are more people who have heard Favreau and now Taika because of Thor. So yeah. I think that's right. All right, let's talk about what we've been watching. What have you had your eyes on, Brian?
Dude, I finally started watching Devs, the thing that Bryce loves to hate. Sorry, this is me overstating.
It's good. I have problems with it.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm on episode 5, kind of loving it an awful lot. I like it. In fact, I like it enough, Tom, that I give you my, if you want to join me on the other side of Devs, we could do a whole little bonus after talk, or if we have a gap spoiler in time. All
right. I'll put it on the list. I have been watching. The thing I want to mention is Killing Eve. We have been keeping up on the new series of Killing Eve. I did the season pass thing, so we end up watching it a day late. I think it comes out on Sunday, and we'll watch it Monday nights. But that's fine. This is not a show where it's about the participation with the wider culture, like a Game of Thrones or even a Better Call Saul. This is something we just kind of enjoy on our own, because we never watched them when they were new in the first 2 seasons. But if you liked the first 2 seasons, I think it's strong. It's a strong 3rd season, and the characters of Eve and Villanelle are 2 of the best characters in kind of murder romance that I've ever seen. So
can
highly
I
recommend it.
I actually still don't know what Killing Eve is about. Is there anything I should know, or?
It's hard to explain without being spoilery. That's probably one of the reasons that you haven't heard much. But Villanelle, the blonde in the poster art, is an assassin, and Eve is a contractor for MI6.
Okay.
And I say that not remembering for sure if she's always been or is at the beginning, but she works in that world, basically.
But basically, there's somebody who by default you would think of as a good guy and a bad guy, and it gets complicated.
In hunting the assassin, she starts to learn to admire the assassin, and vice versa. And then the story is told from there. And it's a great thriller with lots of cool twists and a really deep and interesting relationship and relationships around all the people involved in this.
Very cool.
All right, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
Hey, you got a rec from Joe of a new show that I also enjoyed this weekend. Joe writes, "Hey guys, here's a very much on the radar lookout suggestion because Amazon has been shoving ads for Upload in my face, and I assume everyone else's face, for weeks. However, I tried it out this weekend and ended up binging half of the season before having to go back to work today, so I thought I'd recommend it. The ads describe it as a sitcom rom-com about the digital afterlife, but the show actually touches on some really interesting topics about life, religion, tech, and our current app-driven economy. It does provide laughs, but it is way more thoughtful than it has been represented. It's free for Amazon Prime subscribers. Joe, thank you, Joe. Yeah, it took me a few episodes to warm up to Upload, but I really enjoyed it for a slightly goofy take on this, and some of the mysteries and some of the things that it tries to tackle on, say, the current day mechanisms of capitalism seem very weird when they get applied to a digital afterlife. But I think it's really cool. I ended up binging it. I know our friend Andrew Main on the Weird Things podcast also binged and really enjoyed it. I gotta say, Upload is pretty good, and it's another show from Greg Daniels, who was a part of Space Force and The Office, and other shows. So
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. I will say the one other thing is you can tell how cheap it is.
Oh,
a lot of green screen, and it's very visible in some cases, but it's good, and it is funny, and it's interesting seeing characters. And the last thing I'll say is that there is a romantic element to the story, but I think it is more complicated than you might expect from a single camera sitcom. I think that for all of the journey that it takes, I think it's nice and nuanced, honestly. So 10 half-hour episodes are streaming. This is called Upload. They're streaming now on Amazon Prime Video now. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email cordkillers@gmail.com.
Hey, thanks to everybody who's been reviewing Trigger, my novel in the Pilot X universe on Amazon. If you have picked up that novel and you haven't reviewed it yet, it's one of the best things you can do to help get the word out there. The more reviews on there, the better. And right now it's got 5 stars. So I'm super happy that people are enjoying it. If you want a space adventure with a time machine, pie, and coffee, go check it out, triggertomsnewbook.com. But also buy a new computer.
Yeah, well, and we all know buying a new computer is one of those things. Like, you're gonna kind of like reassessing your relationship with cable. It's gonna happen sooner or later, and if now's that moment, then we encourage you to go to our friends over at DoghouseSystems.com. Go to DoghouseSystems.com/V/Rogue. That's ROGUE. Use promo code Rogue at checkout. Do me a favor, send me a picture of your new system. Tell me how much you love it.
Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
So remember last time we talked about Viacom, CBS, and CBS All Access, they said they were going to make it a house of brands. Well, now they've said they will rebrand CBS All Access for a relaunch this summer. They didn't give an exact date, but by the end of the summer, we should have a brand new brand for CBS All Access and a packed look. Remember, they've talked about a 3-tier strategy of CBS All Access, Showtime for premium, and Pluto as your free streaming thing. So this new version will add content from the Viacom side of the business, Nickelodeon, BET, MTV, Comedy Central, etc., as well as expand original content beyond just The Good Wife and Star Trek. Also continue with news and sports, which it already has. 100 movies from Paramount have already been added to CBS All Access. An international version is planned sometime in the next 12 months. And in a related note, Viacom channels are coming to YouTube TV. So if you're a YouTube TV subscriber, that now puts a point in its favor. You can get Comedy Central, MTV, BET on YouTube TV. And Viacom CBS's Pluto TV has struck a deal with TiVo and Verizon to distribute that free service on some of their platforms as well.
Forgive me, I should have checked this myself, but do you happen to know, Tom, whether or not the articles explicitly said that it'll be called Viacom CBS, or that is it possible that
no, Viacom CBS is the name of the company.
Correct. But they have
said
not
they will rebrand CBS All Access. They did not say what they will rebrand it to.
So this is the speculation wormhole that I wanted to run into. Like, do you think they call it like VCS or like Viacom Columbia or what? Like,
well, if they take a page from Peacock, they'll call it The Eye.
To be honest, I'd be okay with that. I just called it The Eye.
They combine Paramount and CBS. Eye Mountain.
Para-Eye.
Mountain Eye.
Eye Mountain. Okay.
I don't know. I really have no sense of what they would rebrand it, because CBS is a good brand. Paramount's a good brand. Viacom, nobody cares, nobody knows, but they've got some other good brands in there.
Tiffany might be interesting, except for it's gendered, which would be complicated.
It sounds like jewelry.
Yeah.
Call it, and Brian's referring to the fact that CBS.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Actually, you know what? Maybe that would be a good answer to Peacock. Peacock versus the Cock versus Tiffany.
Versus Tiffany. Yeah, one's a little more sophisticated.
Yeah, right? I mean, they could position themselves as that way. Okay, anyway. Send us your suggestions to cordkillers@gmail.com. Roku posted a larger net loss in Q1 as it increased spending on marketing. Roku announced platform revenue, which includes ad sales. It grew 73% to $232.6 million during the quarter. Roku said as it expects ad sales growth to slow in 2020, Roku did see a rise in 2.9 million active accounts for a total of $39.8 million in the quarter. Man, those numbers.
Accounts.
It's sorry. I said dollars. That's not dollars. That's account. Those are remarkable numbers.
One major theme of all earnings reports these past couple of weeks, as the earnings reports roll in, is companies who did well and companies who didn't do well too, but companies who did well going, but we don't know if this will continue. Like, we don't know what the ad market is going to be. So, yes, our plan was to really shift into the ad market. The ad market might be drying up. It might not. We don't really know. So, they're doing a lot of caveats there for their investors, but overall, very good numbers for Roku, all things considered.
Not as good as Disney Plus, though.
Disney announced Disney Plus reached 54.5 million subscribers as of May the 4th. Be with you. UK firm Digital TV Research projects that Disney Plus will reach 202 million subscribers by 2025. That's more aggressive than Disney's own projection of 126 million. Disney CEO Bob Chapek also managed to admit that the company will continue to release some movies direct to streaming without causing AMC theaters to boycott it. Chapek said it will evaluate movies on a case-by-case basis. Mulan is still the big return for Disney. It's tentatively set to return to theaters July 24th. So we'll keep an eye on that date and see if it moves.
Man, I don't know. Do you believe that? July 24th? Do you think?
I was set to go to the Mulan premiere with Eileen. She had tickets to it, and it was the thing that got moved we were going to go next week. And then it was like, nope, they're moving it. And we're like, wow, really? They're moving the red carpet premiere? That's crazy. And then they moved it off to July 24th. And I thought, wow, so far later in the season. That's wild that they're moving it so far. Now it feels really near.
I mean, just 2 months away. I mean, do you really? I don't think we'll be ready for it.
It's not that theaters won't be open by July 24th. It's that people won't be wanting to go back. And Disney will want to use Mulan as the thing to push people over the edge when they're about ready. And I don't know that July 24th will be that time.
And one other thing about Mulan is, Disney said they want that to be a global release.
Yes.
If it comes out in one region and it's not out in the other regions, they're going to expect a lot of piracy and a lot of
However,
quote unquote lost sales.
When they say global release, though, they mean Europe,
China.
the United States, China, and India.
Right.
If Africa's still shut down, Disney's not going to hold off.
I think here's what I suspect is they are going to make a big deal about its day and dateness. It will be a day and date release. They will make a big deal about its premiere and say, look at the Hollywood glitz and glamour that's coming back, but you don't need to come out and see this. You stay at home and watch this with your family. You're going to love it.
No, there's no way they do that.
Really?
Yeah, you're nuts. They will immediately be banned from showing it in all theaters.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that whole.
And it's expensive. It's a high budget movie too.
Man, I don't see how they make any kind of decent money in a theatrical release.
Not on July 24th. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think we see this one delayed, but we'll keep an eye on it.
TiVo launched its TiVo Stream 4K, the HDMI dongle with Sling TV built in that was announced at CES. TiVo Stream 4K also supports Dolby Vision, HDR, Dolby Atmos, and Chromecast. It also runs Android TV and has Google Play Store apps and Google Assistant. It also features the streaming service called TiVo Plus. The TiVo Stream 4K is available now for $49.99.
Yeah, this is the one I talked about at CES when they announced it. So it's really nice. This is a great thing to get for friends and relatives who are like, I'm kind of new to this streaming thing. What do I do? Because it's got a really good TiVo interface, really intuitive. It has some free stuff on TiVo Plus from Xumo, which is the Comcast owned, but they're getting Pluto on this thing too, as we mentioned earlier.
Also has the benefit of not sounding like a new word people have to learn. Like they know the word TiVo.
They know TiVo. And Sling TV being built in might be really good for Sling if this takes off, because that's how people they're like, wait, but how do I get my local channels? I want to watch the news at night. Like
Sling does have the advantage, whereas Hulu and YouTube, those words mean something else besides cable. Sling only means it's cable over the internet, and that's all it means.
Protocol sources are saying what 9 to 5 Google sources said back in March, that Google is going to launch an Android TV powered streaming dongle. Chromecast is not powered by Android TV. It's an Android-based device of its own. So Protocol says that this will be under the Google Nest brand and have an interface focused on individual shows rather than apps. Also, you wouldn't have to just cast it. It would have its own interface, more like a Fire TV stick. Meanwhile, 9 to 5 Google sources say Android TV is going to be rebranded Google TV. Brian, everything goes in a circle. Remember Google TV with the big bulky keyboards? I still have one somewhere around here. Like, we're back. Hope, maybe. We'll see.
Peacock will be available on Apple TV and Xbox at launch on July 15th. Peacock will integrate with the Apple TV app Watch Now section. Peacock launched an at-home variety show hosted by Seth MacFarlane on Peacock. Peacock is currently only available to some Comcast customers. I said Peacock a lot.
Yes, you did. And the point of this being that Peacock is integrated with Apple TV, kind of like HBO Max, Hulu, etc., so that it'll automatically show up in that strip of stuff at the beginning of the Apple TV app there. But yeah, they're launching a show on Peacock for people, I guess, who are on Comcast. All right, let's get to some dispatches from the front. Walt in Birmingham, Alabama, wrote in and expressed his disdain for theaters, saying, I would gleefully pay $50 to rent a movie on day one and watch it with my wife, dog at home. I've had this discussion with many friends and every family member over the last couple of months, and there has yet to be one dissenter in the group. Death to theaters, I guess, Walt.
I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know how you were pitching this to your friends. But if you were shouting "death to theaters," I too might shut my mouth and just watch you shout.
Yeah, I don't think theaters are going to die. And Walt, even if you're not around them, there are plenty of people who do like to go back to theaters. But it's a good point that there are plenty of people like Walt who are like, and we heard Bryce earlier say like, they'd pay a premium to be able to watch this stuff at home.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I got to go with all of humanity on the whole. Like, there's a reason we love social proof. There's a reason we love big events and being together at the same place at the same time. I got to feel like that's not going to go away overnight.
Buzz says, hey, Tom and Brian, I was excited to hear about the special $11.99 pricing for HBO Max, so I thought I'd sign up for it and turn off my Amazon bought HBO Now subscription. Unfortunately, HBO recognized my email and won't let me make the switch, so I'll have to sign up with a different email if I want to get that $11.99 discount. But thanks for all the great content and see you online. Thank you, Buzz. Good heads up. If you already have an HBO Now subscription, you may not be able to get that discount. They're aiming at new folks to get them to prepay for a year. And to me, that's partly fair because I got a discount for signing up for HBO Now in the beginning. So this is an introductory discount. Also, I got an email from HBO Max right before the show telling me, hey, Tom, subscriber to HBO Now, at the end of May, you're going to get HBO Max. You won't have to do nothing because we made a deal with Apple. Your HBO Now app will become an HBO Max app, and you'll just stay logged in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me check my email right now.
I don't know if it's an Apple. When I signed up for HBO Now, it was originally through paying through the Apple App Store, and so Apple took their cut. Now I had canceled my service before I signed up because I did sign up for this discount, and it gave it to me.
Yeah, because you were re-signing up.
Right.
If you have existing service, then...
Brian's holding up. He got the email?
I got the
You
email.
got the email too?
It says, hey, by the way, you now get HBO Max.
So does this mean
this is the importance of us telling you about those deals with Apple? It's not just like, oh, they made a deal. This is what allows this to happen. Like, okay, we've made the deal with Apple, and so because of that, we'll now feel comfortable just upgrading everyone to HBO Max without them having to do anything.
I got to tell you,
going to make a huge difference for HBO Max.
This might be the single most positive HBO Max related story we've covered so far because I've been very, very tepid on all of this. But this kind of tells me they're putting their money where their mouth is on this, and that like you joked in a previous episode, Tom, that they will intentionally make it just annoying enough that Brian will not bother to upgrade or switch over. But it's like this tells me they're true believers.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah, and it's why they had to make these deals. They and it's why I kept reporting on those deals. Is that for Android, for Google Play, all of those deals that HBO made allow this ease of use because that's how they win. Is if suddenly somebody who has HBO suddenly has more, they're not going to complain as much.
Yeah. Well, and especially if what they're angling for is, a 50% increase in HBO traffic happen concurrent with HBO Max.
Yep. David Pick wrote in and said, hey, everybody, I have no complaints this time. I just wanted to respond to last week's discussion of if we are ever going back to the theaters once they open up. I'll be starting my 9th week of essential employment during Wisconsin's extended stay-at-home order, so I haven't really experienced quarantine brain and streaming content fatigue as I've been working full-time at my job and still commuting back and forth. I so far have remained healthy. We're very glad to hear that, David. When and if the theaters open, I will not be in a hurry to see a movie inside, but I'm almost certain I want to see Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet on the upcoming July 17th weekend, 2 months from now. If masks will be mandatory, I'm willing to comply. But I just don't know how the 1 out of every 4 seat capacity will go and how theaters would survive if theater attendees can't buy concessions during the film they want to see.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I think we would all put on spacesuits, or some number of us would put on spacesuits to go see a movie with other people.
Yeah, there will be. It's all a matter of percentages, right? It's not that nobody will go back to the theaters. It's not that everybody will go back to the theaters. It's who will, in what numbers, and when, and what will make people feel comfortable finally doing it.
Agreed.
Hey, folks, our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thanks for spending your time with us. We'll cut your cord again next time, or kill it, or something. We'll see you then.
Hey, Tom Merritt.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Know who I love even more than my own children?
Your other children?
No, not my wife. I know what you're saying. I love our $5 patrons. These are the people that keep us loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much, $5 patrons.
You know what? I love them more than not life itself, because then I'd be dead and I couldn't appreciate them, but really, really, really close. And I'm so thankful that they are here to make this show happen.
Thank you so much to all of our $5 a month patrons. You guys are wizards. You're champions.
Thank you, everyone.
You're heroes.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.